Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone. So for those that don't know, durhamlane is a sales acceleration specialist. We help companies grow through three core service lines: sales outsourcing, sales recruitment and executive search, and sales training, consulting, and coaching. So we're really interested in trends and insights that can help our customers and prospects improve sales performance. Sales has undergone more change in the last 5 years than in the last 130. I think it's fair to say, with the pace of technology. And what we're particularly interested at here at durhamlane is in an era of AI and automation, is how we can improve the human side of this transformation. So we've got two fantastic speakers for you during this webinar. Alison Freer, who is our Director of Consulting and Learning here at durhamlane. We also got Rob Keeley, who is our Sales Specialist Recruiter. And they're going to give a very good overview of finding, assessing, and developing sales talent. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, please don't hesitate to ask them via the chat box, and we will try and make sure that we answer all of them. This webinar should take around 45 minutes or so, so it should coincide with your lunch hour. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to pass you up now to Alison.
Thank you very much, Sean, and hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Yes, lots of exciting insight to share with you. We're thrilled to be able to that you can join us to deep dive into the world of sales recruitment, how you find and retain and develop the best talent that's out there. It's something that I've looked at a lot in my career. It's something which is rapidly developing as a field of practice, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my colleague Rob Keeley, who's spends an awful lot of time working in this space on behalf of durhamlane, and in particular on behalf of many of our clients. So Rob, do you want to just introduce yourself, and I think perhaps just give a quick overview of your story, your career story?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks very much, Alison. As you mentioned, my name is Rob Keeley. I'm one of the sales recruitment specialists here at durhamlane. We focus solely on the commercial roles in this world, regardless of sector, really. We know that there's a certain something that makes a salesman or saleswoman, and that can be transferred cross vertical, cross industry, and it takes a certain kind of recruiter, I believe, to really get under the skin, not only of the candidates that we're looking to place, but also the businesses we're looking to place them in, finding where commercial acumen can meet those real commercial requirements.
Super, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about some of your experiences and insights and examples from the work that you do, Rob. Yeah, so we're in a fast-changing world where there are still a lot of myths and stereotypes to be busted, quite frankly, about the sales profession. Our mission is to raise the bar of the sales profession, to make it a profession to aspire to and to be proud of, and to deliver long-term value for individuals and the organisations they work with over their lifetime. So in the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to be looking at tools and techniques and practices that you need to think about to attract the best sales candidates. So Rob's going to share with you some insights around that. In a world where still there are many myths to bust, as I say, about salespeople, we're going to look at how you can use different types of analytics, including behavioural analytics, to assess and predict the factors that are going to deliver future sales performance. As a very wise specialist in this area said to us, why wait 6 months to test out if somebody's right for a sales role when there's an awful lot you can do up front to determine that before you actually hire someone? And we're going to share with you some tools, techniques, and most importantly, proven practices for developing, retaining sales talent once you have them. So Rob, based on your insights on the world at the moment, what are some of the key challenges that you find that clients have in attracting and retaining the right sales talent?
I think one of the key issues for many clients that we come across and prospects that I speak to is that initial attraction piece. With such a candidate-rich market that we're currently finding ourselves in, it really takes a certain special something in a job specification to really bring out and inspire the right candidates and the right caliber of candidate in particular to be enticed and attracted to a role and to a company. With the dawn of media platforms such as Glassdoor giving such insight into an organisation's culture and in particular the views and the direction that a company and a company's directors are looking to take the company in, I think it can all too easily spiral into almost a game of hearsay where far too much is found out about a company and a reputation can be spoiled far too early without the opportunity even being raised. So one thing that we look to in particular do is work with not only aspirational but well looked at and well versed organisations and help them to really find the strongest and most, not only most qualified but best fit candidates from a personality perspective as well, to really introduce them and make sure that their journey is as fruitful as possible.
Super, and we're going to be looking at some of the processes and practices that you deploy to ensure that the best fit is there, both in terms of, as you say, kind of values as well as sales performance. Really interesting that you've mentioned Glassdoor. It's really been a burgeoning platform and using social media crowdsourcing principles. It's become almost the TripAdvisor of employability and something that everyone should take note of. If you're not already active on Glassdoor, particularly as an employer, you should be. Here's some stats then. So the average tenure of a new salesperson can be as short as 18 months. And what we also know from research by people like sales specialists such as Graham Hawkins, who's written and researched widely on this topic, is that once somebody thinks about moving, their productivity is likely to drop off. So if you're only with somebody for 18 months, you might spend 3 or 4 months thinking about moving at the end of it. And also, we also know from our own experience and from research, it can take at least 6 months to get somebody up to full productivity in a professional sales role. So the hyperspeed pace of change in the sales profession is something you need to take note of. It's always been there. It's been accelerated hugely in the last 5 years through the dawn of digital and other social media type practices and cultures. Useful just to look at some of the research. What you see from that graphic from Glassdoor is that on average, you might expect your top sales talent to be thinking of or actually moving. Certainly the peak is between 2 and 4 years. So there's a big work to do given the amount of investment that goes into attracting and developing salespeople and then retaining them. What we also know is that somebody who is well looked after in their first 4 years in their career can go on to be a key instrumental growth partner in your business. So lots of food for thought there. Let's go back to where we started then, attracting the right sales talent for your business. It's something that is often left to happenstance and a few nods and a few connections, but without really thinking through how, as Rob said, you get the right fit between values and performance. And whether that's looking at experienced hands or also those who have the talent and the potential to really deliver for your business. Rob, at Durham Lane, we have a methodology, talent at a higher level. Can you share with us the key elements of this and how you apply this in your work?
Absolutely. So talent at a higher level comprises 5 key steps: attraction, assessment, validation, engagement, and the onboarding process, as you mentioned, Alison. The attraction initial statement and initial process always involves us liaising with our client organizations to really find and get under the skin, not only of their requirements, but of their organization in itself, from a sector point of view, from where where they're looking to go, where they've been, and also really looking to find out the key personalities and the key values of that business. Through this, we'll look to build out assessment matrices, which we will look to assess each and every candidate that we come across, and we find it really allows for fluidity and continuity with process, in that these can be passed on through the various stages and across various members of the hiring team if required, to make sure that everyone is up to speed with each candidate's abilities, whether they've hit certain targets within the matrix, to allow for a real holistic view of all candidates who've been through the process. By the time it comes to that final validation and engagement piece, where you're looking to whittle down your shortlist and really look to get people with offers on the table and hopefully enroll, as is often the case. And I feel that is often where businesses can fall down in finding the highest caliber of candidates, really getting the attraction in. So we look at Durham Lane to really make the most of our not only our personal connections, but our business connections as well, and really make the most of all sorts of outreach that we can provide through professional media, through social media, and through, as I mentioned, our own personal networks within that. So making sure that through this assessment matrix, we can best publicise through our own voices and our own means the opportunities, and find and nurture these best fit candidates to really bring them on and get them sold the dream of the opportunity that is in place with our client organisations.
So tell us a bit more then about the assessment matrix that you mentioned. It sounds like this is really, you use this as a blueprint from the very start of an engagement. How does using one of these benefit those involved in the process?
Yes, so the assessment matrix, and again, this is always built out bespokely to each client's requirements, because we know that different things will matter to different clients. Each business is completely different. I believe it was Mark Roberge, the founder of HubSpot, once said, the ideal sales hiring formula is completely different for each company, but the process to design that formula is completely the same throughout. Each candidate's criteria, there are a few that he actually mentioned in his book, which really I hold dear, and as something that I look for in each candidate that I put forward. Curiosity, work ethic, and passion for a role. So with that, the curiosity, and you can often find this once you've initially mentioned a role or a hiring client to a candidate. There are sometimes those candidates who will come into an initial call and will very much be blank of any sort of idea of what's going on, and will want you to tell the story for them. What really excites me when talking to a candidate is that they will come in and have already done their own research and know little nuggets of information that maybe sometimes I won't even know. A pressing news article that's just come out that the CEO has shared on their social media, or a recent NASDAQ or FTSE report that has kind of portrayed market value and the direction that the company is going over the next quarter or half or financial year. And I think this really shows that passion as well, to understand and learn more. And I think that's something, one of those soft skills and abilities that can't be taught. You either have that inbuilt curiosity or you just don't. And I think that is so crucial when looking to hire within organisations that are looking to build passionate sales teams, because I think that's one of the key things about sales. It's often led that, people are often led to believe that a salesperson should be able to sell anything. I think a good salesperson should be able to sell anything that they're passionate about. And if someone can convey that passion for whether it be a product, a service, a vision, a dream, then they can really truly class themselves and be classed by their peers and the world around them as a strong and proud salesperson. And I think that is one thing that Durham Lane, in looking to raise the bar of the sales profession, are really, really looking to hold true and keep true to as we fill roles and place candidates within their ideal organisations.
Super. So this is, this kind of assessment matrix helps you and clients and candidates, I guess, be clear about what are the values, the behaviours, and the experiences that are likely to predict future sales success. Now, Rob, you mentioned headhunting. It's really interesting to hear the word headhunting used. I first heard it several decades ago. It's a very different world in which headhunting happens. You mentioned social media as well. So talk about how you're using these different formats and platforms to help to attract sales talent.
So, Alison, really in the world that we live in now, particularly within commercial roles, LinkedIn would appear to be the go-to medium for everything sales and commercially viable. However, it's often too easy to be really drawn into the trap that LinkedIn is the be-all and end-all, because for roles where you might be looking for more of a creative lead on a marketing end or somewhere that is a bit off-piste, you're not necessarily going to find or going to attract the right candidates for the role through your traditional media. So often we found with roles on the marketing end or that have more of a social bias, we can find that going through the social media channels, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams, to attract these best talents through really creative means, whether it be through visual advertising, through videos, through things that stand out. If a candidate is going to want to work for an organisation that stands out, surely the advertising and the marketing for the role itself should also stand out and really pop and make them interested from that visual perspective.
Okay, so I've heard you say in the past to me that good salespeople rarely leave sales roles. So it sounds like you have to be more creative about how you reach the places they're likely to inhabit. And also one of the things that it sounds like you're looking for is their ability to utilise the available social media type platforms to project themselves in their professional profile.
Yes.
And I know that how many of the candidates that you've placed have you actually met in person?
So deliberately, I have met none of my candidates. I accidentally, of a strange twist of fate, bumped into one of my candidates in King's Cross Station one cold December morning, completely out of the blue. But both our trains had been cancelled, and we kind of noticed each other across the platform. But I don't think in today's world of modern technologies and of distance learning, of distance teaching, of distance communication, there really doesn't seem to be a necessity to meet face-to-face our candidates, or even to some extent our clients. With the likes of Skype and various video conferencing platforms, we can all too easily meet or virtually meet our candidates and really profile them. With sales being, particularly field sales, being such a visual role and a visual industry, there is of course that element of personability that needs to be managed with candidates, and through platforms that we use internally, like Shine, that we use for particularly for some of our graduates who don't necessarily have existing tangible sales experience. If they can come across well to us via calls and via video calls, and can then come across well and portray that in a video interview that's recorded and then sent over to the client organisation, we find that really enables both our clients and our candidates to quickly and easily get across what they're looking for and be able to sort who's going to fit within a client's organisation, both from that experience point of view, but also from a personality fit and the way they hold themselves, the way that they will phrase themselves, and facial and bodily recognition and communications that will come across that you wouldn't necessarily get through purely phone conversation.
So by mixing the media of the recruitment enablement technology, that helps you to get a broader spread of evidence and information about the candidates that you're looking at and meeting.
Yeah.
Which parts of the globe have you recently successfully placed people?
So while the bulk of our work is UK, London, we're currently successfully placing across Singapore. We've got roles on in Toronto that we're placing across the US, across EMEA as well. So really, we are certainly not geographically limited. I think the world of talent acquisition and talent finding is and certainly shouldn't be geographically limited. I know that while it sometimes pains my colleagues to do so, they are more than happy to be on the phone to Toronto at 10 o'clock at night talking to candidates, or 4 in the morning talking to Malaysian candidates, because it's what you have to do. You have to work around your clients and your candidates' busy schedules, because as you mentioned, the vast majority, and I often find the best candidates are already in work and aren't necessarily looking for a new role. So being able to reach out in a timely and considerate manner that best fits the requirements of your candidates to reach them outside of their working hours, or quickly on one of their lunch breaks or anything like that, to best find a time and a medium that suits them. Often gives us the ability, I find, to really headhunt and poach for our clients, the cream of the crop in the sales world.
Okay, thank you. Now let's keep moving along the talent at a higher level process, and we've talked a lot about attracting and starting to assess and understand. There's something about being able to validate this rich mix of behaviours, attitudes, values, experience, and increasingly what we see in our own business and many of the training programs that we do is the use of behavioural analytics, and this can be used and tracked and mapped to help assess and predict future sales performance. Now, some of you may have attended our last month's webinar about our behavioural analysis model, so I won't go into detail with all of this, but let me just quickly review our behavioural model compass. And this is describing the different types of behaviours that people may choose to use when engaging with customers. And it's something that is very important as you're validating the information that you're getting about your future sales talent. So what are the drivers in your business? What do your customers and customer sectors most value? Are they more product based? Are they needing people who can turn into credible technical experts in your field to be able to engage with technical experts in your customer marketplaces? How important is reliability to your customer sectors? Quality assurance, predictability, managing long-term relationships with consistency. What about one-to-one and one-to-many relationships, the ability to build meaningful, authentic relationships with the people that you need to engage as customers in your business? Increasingly, what we're seeing is a trend towards partnership behaviours, particularly in complex solution sales environments where sales specialists need to become more adept at being able to help future customers become more innovative in the way that they think about future solutions and developing them together. So wherever your customers are and your customer sectors are moving in your marketplace, take note and think about the behaviours that need to come in when you're assessing your future sales potential. And you may have seen this before if you've been on our previous seminars, but analyse the gaps you need to fill. In these charts, what we're tracking here is an example of individuals, teams, and an overall sales team about how they currently behave, and also mapping that against what customers value in their field. And that can help you to determine the kinds of behaviours that you're looking to test in your recruitment and selection process. Rob, is there anything else you need to, that you think is important for people to take note of around assessing behaviours in the process?
Yes, I think the gap analysis you mentioned there, Alison, is key. Whether it's that there are gaps in your team, or alternatively, whether you want to build on the existing strength of your team. So the analysis of existing team members and seeing how maybe your strongest players compare to the gaps that you've got, or if your sales team is already working above its KPIs, above target, then shall we build on that? Shall we look to emulate the existing behavioural patterns of our sales team with more sales talent that will work in a similar way? Now, whether that be, as you mentioned, in that credible technical expert, product driven manner, whether it be someone who garners strong, long-lasting relationships with all stakeholders within a business that works on that relationship end of the behavioural compass. And I think really it is completely different for each organisation. You've got to go into that detail and really get under the skin of what is making your sales team tick at the moment, what makes your customers tick in particular. I've often come across businesses through our consultancy work where they might have some idea of where they're strong, but where their team are strong is not necessarily where their customers need them to be strong, and they've often almost missed the boat on opportunities or on cross-sell or upsell because they haven't had the right focus. And I think being able to work and figure out where those gaps are and how best to manipulate the sales force, whether that be through further growth or through helping to instill different behaviours within the existing sales teams, can really accelerate sales growth almost instantaneously, but particularly on a long-lasting basis, with building teams with behaviours targeted towards the requirements and desires of their client bases as well.
So it sounds like it's really important to analyse the team fit, as well as looking at the individual spec that you're trying to fill, or multiples thereof. Thank you for that, Rob. And as we move further along the talent at a higher level methodology, and we move towards you engaging your new and future sales talent, bringing them on board, Rob, tell us, what are some of the trends that you're seeing about the things that work once people have identified the hires they want to make?
I think one thing, and it time and time again comes back to it with the candidate-rich market that we're in. Once a candidate's eyes have been opened to new opportunities, and as we've mentioned earlier in this session, the vast majority of high caliber candidates are already in work and aren't necessarily looking for work as we engage with them. But once they're engaged, they become a lot more aware of the greener grass that is around them. And once that talent's been engaged, and if they really are on a hiring company's radar, for whether that be their final shortlist of 3, or whether it be, we are going to put an offer on the table, time is of the essence. And I know there are statistics that say about engagement speeds, and I've come across organizations who we've engaged with who really have previously struggled to close out on candidates because they've spent too long. The infographic you've got up here, 66% will wait less than 2 weeks before looking elsewhere. I find with candidates I've dealt with in the past, if they're in process with one organisation, we'll find that they've actually potentially entered process with a lot of others because their eyes have been open. They've started that wind down process within their existing company. That 3-month clock is ticking. So they need to be engaged, and they need to be, the draw needs to be there now. If you wait too long from that final interview through to the offer stage, or even between intermediary stages, we find that candidate drop off raises considerably over a week's wait. if candidates are left waiting for offers or for kind of final hear back for next steps, that interest leaves them because they feel disengaged. They feel that the hiring company hasn't necessarily been as interested in them. And we know throughout lives, if something, even if you're madly interested in something, whether it be a role or an activity, if the interest isn't there from the other party or from the other side, your own interest will dwindle because it doesn't seem as an attractive an opportunity, because there's not the mutual respect or the mutual desire there to build upon.
So it sounds like, just as you would always be qualifying new sales opportunities when you're thinking about appointing and hiring sales talent, you need to be planning right from the beginning to be ready to move when you find the right person or people, and be ready to move swiftly. And as we get to the point where people have been offered and they've accepted and they're coming on board, what are the top tips that you think people need to be ready to be aware of?
I think one thing that I've sadly come across with organisations and with candidates that I've dealt with who've come from process elsewhere, and we found them once they've already started that hunt, I guess, is that too often a hiring organisation will overpromise and under-deliver with their offer. They'll come out with a pay scale of, let's say £60,000 to £70,000, and the ideal candidate will come in, will have the experience, will have everything, the values that the hiring organisation are looking for, and they might not necessarily already be within that salary bracket, but will have been promised the flashing lights of this salary band, and then the hiring organisation will come in with a lowball offer to try and save themselves some money. And it just stinks of disrespect for everyone involved in the process. It comes across that any recruiters involved have been selling a lie almost, and that the candidate being recruited, it almost feels that they're not worthy of that higher offer, even though you can see through the assessment matrix or through all the feedback that they've been given throughout the process that you fit the bill that we're looking for. You're exactly within this bracket of the candidate that we want, but we're not willing to pay for you. So I think at that point it can very much be an insult to a candidate, and can really be a complete turn off, in all honesty. And that's one thing that I would always mention to any client we work with, to pay some respect to the candidate, because too often the processes can last weeks, months. So if you've drawn someone along and they've been engaged with you and have come to meet you multiple times, to then go in and throw in what can be seen as an almost disrespectfully low offer can really just dampen a mood and really turn off a candidate.
So, and I think we would always say, wouldn't we, that recruitment is your ultimate shop window, and not only for the people that you want to join and do join you, but for those that decide, or you decide, aren't right for your organisation. They are still your future potential customers, referrers. So the experience they have with us and with any of our clients is absolutely crucial. So some onboarding hints and tips based from experience is, start as you mean to go on. Use our talent at a higher level methodology to think through not only how you're going to find people in the first place, but fast forward to when they're with you, joining you, their first 3 and 6 months. At Durham Lane, we embed coaching as part of our custom culture and practice. People receive coaching on a one-to-one basis, on a weekly basis from the outset. So be crystal clear, as Rob said, about expectations and the performance required. No surprises. think about, and this is something that you can craft with your candidates, what are the goals and objectives that you and they expect to be working to and delivering to? Now you can be thinking about and openly discussing it during the recruitment process. And what a great opportunity to bring your positive role models into the assessment process, that help them to meet them before they join. And then there's that follow through and familiarity. So it's not like joining a brand new team, that people have high visibility of those who they're joining as colleagues and who are joining them. We use 70-20-10 coaching as a philosophy, on the basis that 70% of our learning is on the job, but you supplement that with structured peer-to-peer coaching and 10% formal input and training. And Rob, you've mentioned a lot about finding not only the experience, but also the right kind of values and behaviour. What, in your experience, helps our recruiting clients to find the real star performers?
I think the star performers can often be found, and as is well shown by this diagram, where those business values really meet strong, results-driven individuals. Those who are exceeding their KPIs are leaders in their sales team who have time and time again been reaching those high value, high volume sales. That's your star performer. They're your ideal. Where I would often look to be recruiting, and I would always stay on the right hand side of this graph. Those who might not necessarily yet have the proven results, so those at a graduate level, those moving into a new industry, if they've got those proven values, if you can have a conversation with them on the basis of a business fit and a fit within your existing team, the results can come. The results can be brought. They can be, if the results need to be coached in or further training needs to be added, then that can all be brought in. But values can very rarely be taught. Poor values can not only lead to a poor work ethic within an individual, but also bring on bad feelings within a team, and can quite often bring down a team's own values, or if they can be seen to be getting the results, but while not abiding by a company's existing value set, it can often raise questions within a team of, oh well, why are they allowed to act as they do? Why are they allowed to have the freedom to have the loose morals within the workplace, or speak to people in a way that doesn't match our value set, and can really upset the apple cart, and can lead to poor feeling and division within a team, which is never going to be conducive of a high performing sales team.
So yes, it's about recruiting on fit and values and future potential, and watch out and really test out those who come with experience, particularly senior hires. Even more need to test the values, behaviours, and use your analytics to ensure you're predicting to the best degree of confidence how someone is going to perform for you in the future. So we're coming up to the witching hour of around 45 minutes, and lunchtime's moving on. At Durham Lane, we are a proud organisation. We're proud to practice what we preach. There's many facets to how we develop and attract and retain our own sales talent. Rob, you've developed your career with Durham Lane, a significant part of it. What do you see are the factors that have enabled you and other colleagues to realise your full potential?
I think one thing that really stands out within the internal and external recruitment process that goes on at Durham Lane is that key focus on values. I know that the vast majority of people and my colleagues within Durham Lane do not have a business-focused degree. I myself am a chemistry graduate. I have colleagues from criminology, from fine art backgrounds, because it's not our degree that, or necessarily our prior experiences that makes us qualified for a career in whether it be sales, recruitment, or any commercial role, it's those values and the sales element can be taught. So the culture of coaching, the culture of 70-20-10 within Durham Lane that allows for development and the formalised teaching within the role really helps myself, my colleagues, and those that we come into contact with to grow within our roles and to enable others to grow within their roles. It's something within the candidates that I've placed that I often look to come back to them 3 months into the role and check in on a holistic point of view. Are they doing well, not only in their performance, but how are they fitting the value set of the company? Are they gelling well with the company ethos, those around them? And I think that's all too often missed by not only organisations who are hiring themselves, but also recruitment agencies who look to place and then just wave goodbye once the candidate is in role, because a role isn't just placed once they start, but that ongoing nurture piece, which we really look to instill here at Durham Lane.
Thank you, Rob. It's great to hear experiences, and certainly I think you're one of the great examples of how this our Durham Lane formula really works. The formula must always be revalidated and tested and developed, but certainly it's great to be endorsed by people like the CIPD, that this is a good set of practices to help to develop and retain the people that you most want to keep. So thank you, Rob, and thank you everyone for listening. Let's think about then the 4 things that we'd most like you to consider as we bring this webinar to conclusion is, first of all, based on everything that Rob shared with you, how can you attract the right people to your business? Think about onboarding. Take that as seriously now as you would when you're actually ready to appoint, and think about what's worked and continuously to develop that process. Never underestimate the amount that you need to invest in ensuring that you develop your people once you've got them. Remember that at the very least 2 to 4 years is a crucial point to keeping people hungry and interested. Yes, and encourage that emotional connection, and that one of the most productive ways of hiring people is to grow them from within whenever you can. We've covered a lot of ground today. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you, Sean, for enabling this session. We'd love to engage with you more. If anyone has questions now, I'd be very happy to take them. Are there any questions to focus on just now? Or we can always pick them up later.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Right. Well, given the timing, I think we'll pull the webinar to a close there. Any final comments, Rob?
No, I think from me, it's always great to get any feedback from you guys. So as you can see on this final slide, my own and Alison's email addresses are here. Feel free to come find us on LinkedIn as well. Our wonderful faces will be there, beaming up at you. But yes, if anyone would like to reach out to me with any further questions or queries around recruitment, around the recruitment work we do here at Durham Lane, I'd be more than happy to field any questions, and yes, please do get in touch.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Sean, and thanks everyone for listening. Anything else to say, Sean?
No, that's for me. I just want to also say thank you to everyone. Also, thank you, Alison and Rob, for a very insightful webinar. We will be able to send the slides and the recording over the next few days to the email addresses that you have supplied with me. If there's anything that you would like to ask or like to query that perhaps you didn't get a chance to this webinar, we're always happy to help. So on that note, thank you very much. That concludes the webinar. Goodbye, everyone.